Straight ahead, we'll talk to Juliet Jackson and Beverly Roberts, two women who have returned to work after retirement. They found the beginnings of new careers through the Senior Employment Program, which finds employment for people 55 years of age and older. Returning to work after retirement on today's edition of Folks. Hello everyone, I'm Sonya Masingale. Welcome to another edition of Folks. We are an aging population. Experts say around 11% of the current population is over the age of 60. That figure is expected to double by the turn of this century, only 13 years from now. We're living longer and retiring earlier. What happens when you retire from an active career? Some folks find that they need more money to keep up a decent standard of living. After retirement, their pensions and Social Security benefits just don't add up to enough money. Some folks find that after the closets are cleaned, the house redecorated, the lawn is landscaped, and the great American novel has already been written, that they miss the activity and camaraderie of the workplace, and they want to return to work. Today's program is about returning to work after retirement. We'll meet two women who represent the growing number of people returning to paid employment through the Senior Employment Program. Later on in the show, we'll talk to the director of this program. But first, let's meet these two remarkable women.
And Silas served is the same God I serve. And who knows if it's going to be in front line, pastor or preacher thrown in jail and jail falls down. Come on, preacher.
Juliet Jackson listens to the radio on the way to work every morning. In fact, she first heard about the Senior Employment Program on the radio. She had retired from 28 years as a laboratory aide at a medical lab and found herself with lots of energy and time to spare. Her new job is that of librarian at the Institute of Early Learning.
I was listening to the radio, and they said they needed senior citizens in the workforce, and that at the Catholic Life Center was a place that you could go and get more information about it. And so I applied, and they told me there that they needed someone to work in the library on 16th Street. And that's how I came to apply.
Juliet found it easy to transfer the skills she had gained as a laboratory aide to her new job as librarian. She devised her own method of organization for the children's books and games and teaching aids.
I've always been interested in a number of things. And I like to read. And library just fascinating. I think my experiences in the lab helped that, because I worked partly in the stockroom where I sorted chemicals and put them on the shelf according to the tests that the chemicals were used for. For instance, if it was a blood sugar test, I put all the chemicals that were used in that test together, and then I sorted the glassware that the technologists used for the different tests.
Her college education in liberal arts has served Juliet well in the development of teaching aids, and she hopes to keep on working. She has been at this job for 3 years. How much longer do you think you'll work in this program?
As long as I'm allowed to. I'm in good health, and I expect to live a long life.
A full 8-hour workday was not enough to keep her busy. Juliet's evening hours are as full as her days.
I'm always wanting to learn new things. My next thing, I think, will be learning computer. And when I leave here in the afternoons, I teach music classes, piano classes. And I'm always thinking of new games to play with the smaller children, to make them interested in their music. And so I keep busy, and when you keep busy, you don't think about yourself.
Through several years of participating with the CETA program, we knew that at the end or the termination of the CETA program, it did spin off into another concept, and that was the Job Training Partnership Act. And we were also aware that through the Job Training Partnership Act, there was an area for young adults, there was an area for the middle age, and there was also a senior citizen component. And through CETA, I had worked with Sara before. So when it changed from CETA to the Job Training Partnership Act, then we just continued our relationship.
This is Carolyn Benjamin, Executive Director of the Institute of Early Learning. After finding several employees through the Senior Employment Program, she has become an advocate for the older employee. Well, how has the arrangement worked out for you so far?
Fantastic. The attitude of an older worker is a very positive one. For the first time, that person sees and experiences things that we take for granted. They look at it, at life in particular, from a different perspective, and especially with children. They remember, they relate, they see their children growing up, they see their grandchildren growing up, and they get an opportunity to say some of the things that they've never been able to say to their children or grandchildren, but they can express them to the younger children here.
Just what kind of employee did you get?
I got a gift. She's a gift. I mean, I think that in her coming to our program, we may have needed a worker, but what we received was someone who reinstated quality to our personal lives. Juliet is a dependable person. She's an honest person. I mean, if she is ill, she will say to you, I am ill. I did not come to work because I was ill. If she's going to be absent for any reason, she will not substitute sick leave for annual leave or anything. I mean, the qualities are just unreal. I mean, she is just a jewel. Positive personality.
Has working with the people from the Senior Employment Program changed your outlook on old age?
I think it's changed my concept that old age is not necessarily old age. Within the last 5 years, I worked with my parents, realizing that they were going into retirement. A retirement is a state of mind that a person will either enjoy or regret. And I did not want that to happen to my parents. So I got them involved in the daycare program, and now they own their own daycare program. So the concept is that you are only as old as you want to be, or that you accept, or that you allow people to relate to you. And in Juliet's case, she came back to me to say, you know, accept me for what I am, accept my strengths, accept my weakness, and I will be faithful to you as an employee. And I've accepted that. I accept her just for what she is, and that's a gorgeous person, that's all.
Juliet has words of encouragement for other retirees who are able and interested in going back to work.
It's a good thing to do. It's interesting. I think we get old according to our lack of interest. I think if you are interested and you're open to learn, I think you have better health. If your mental health, I think, helps your physical health.
This is Beverly Roberts. She also found the beginnings of a second career through the Senior Employment Program. She has become one of the indispensable staffers right here at Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Although she is not technically a senior citizen, Beverly still encountered some pretty strong age prejudice when attempting to return to the traditional workplace.
I went around to a lot of the employment agencies, and I realized that they didn't want to hire me, because I was older. So I went to the government and to apply there, and I filled out papers, went back 2 or 3 times, and I came home really discouraged, and I said, well, I guess I just won't be able to find any work. And so that night I said a few prayers, and then the next morning I picked up a folder that I'd gotten at the government building, and there's where it said to call Senior Employment Agency, and I telephoned, and she was excited to talk to me, and I was doubly excited to be able to go down for an interview, and I was working within 10 days.
After 10 years of retirement from the banking industry, Beverly found that she would have to return to work for financial reasons, but she wasn't prepared for the emotions that the job search would stir up.
I was nervous, but I felt inadequate, and that's not the way I usually feel. But when you go out and apply for jobs and you can see the look in their eye, then you realize that you are fighting your age. And I may be 55, but my father is 85 years old, and he plays golf and bowled a 240 game. And we're still capable of working and really want to work, more so than the younger people, I think.
How has it changed you? You said before that you felt like your self-worth was slipping because...
I feel much better now. I've lost quite a bit of weight, and I just am a lot happier, and I feel now like I'm needed.
So what do you have to say about the old myth of older people not being able to learn new things?
I don't think we're set in our ways. It might take us a little bit longer, but I think that in the long run, we try harder, and we don't give up as easily.
We're fortunate in that we have a number of volunteers who work as receptionists and who work in literally every aspect of our operation. So when I first heard from a friend of mine who is head of a statewide nonprofit organization, the Hemophilia Foundation, that there was a program that provided opportunities for older people to have a job and also paid for the services of these older people for a nonprofit, I was thrilled because I thought, what a wonderful opportunity for Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and I also thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for the right person because this is a nice place to work and there are a variety of things that this person could do. And so at that point I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity for both of us, and then we pursued it from there.
Beth Courtney, Executive Director of LPB, is finding her decision to hire from the Senior Employment Program is having some very positive results.
Oh, it has worked out splendidly. Beverly is a wonderful worker, and she has done a little bit of everything, from working with our GED program, people that enroll who have dropped out of high school and who want to get their high school diploma. We have a lot of follow-up work in that. In the Friends office, she's done everything from mailings for new members to she is a receptionist some of the time. She assists my administrative assistant. Frankly, we have enough work for about 20 Beverlys. It's good that she does about the work of about 20 because she's very valuable to us, and we feel like she's really a part of our family here, and we think it's a wonderful program.
Catholic Community Services, may I help you?
The Senior Employment Program operates in a modest suite of offices at the Catholic Life Center in Baton Rouge. The people who work here believe strongly in what they advocate. Workers of all ages work companionably and efficiently together. Frequent meetings between the job counselors and the executive director keep the three-part program active and effective.
Jack, what kind of jobs do we have coming in from businesses right now? Specific types of businesses and job orders?
Job orders, right. And of course, we're getting a lot of these signed into contracts. We got this company, I'm only be able to say that it's a security company. Mm-hmm. This will be the 5th contract that our organization has signed with this company.
Good.
And we renewed the contract, sent 3 people out, and 1 was hired Friday. Now, a produce company here in town.
Okay.
They called in a job order about 2 weeks ago. I had the man sitting here. He was interviewed. He was sent out. He got the job. The next day, they called in 2 more job orders, one for a part-time clerical helper and one for a vegetable cooler inventory clerk.
Jack Torres works as an employment counselor for the program. His job is to match the most qualified applicants with available jobs. Sometimes he has more jobs than people to fill them.
We're called employment counselors. Our job is to take applications as the people come in, and through mail-outs, people come into the office. We take their applications. Then we get job orders from employers, again from mail-out or from publicity like we're getting today. We try to match the two together. In other words, an employer says he wants a particular type of person, okay? So then we go through our files and we try to find someone that will match him. We screen. The employer does no paperwork. We do all the screening. We send him maybe 2, 3, 4 qualified applicants. He chooses and he hires them.
Although employers are enthusiastic about hiring older workers through the senior employment program, they sometimes have to be convinced that an older, more experienced worker warrants a higher salary than a beginner.
Therein lies the problem, particularly in Baton Rouge. The Baton Rouge area, maybe all over the state of Louisiana, is that this is an employer's market right now. Employers will call and they will offer $3.35 or the minimum wage. What we try to do is, well, we explain to them, look, if you want $3.35, you're going to get a $3.35 person. Let's try and up that salary to give this person some incentive, you see, to do better and so forth. So we try to get them up to $4.55, and it works.
Juliet and Beverly are just 2 of the many successful older workers helped by the senior employment program. It covers a 12-parish area and has over 3,500 placements at the time of this broadcast. The numbers are increasing. But it's not just jobs that are making the program work. It's people.
I guess the best part of my job is helping people, yes. Putting the two together, the employer and the applicant, because you've got a match pair there and you've got something that's going to help the community.
Joining me in the studio to talk about the Senior Employment Program of Catholic Community Services is Sara Sims, the director. Welcome to Folks, Sara.
Thank you, Sonya. It's good to be
The first thing I wanted to talk about were the 3 different components of the Senior Employment Program. How do they work?
Well, there are 3 distinctly different components. One is the original basis for the founding of the program, and it's called Title V, the Senior Community Service Project. Title V was designed by the Congress and implemented by us in 1977. It is federally funded with a 10% state match. We place people age 55 and over who are on limited incomes, who are 25% above poverty, in not-for-profit organizations such as LPB or any other not-for-profit organization on a part-time basis for an unlimited duration. The goal is to transfer these people from the subsidized position into what we call unsubsidized position, where perhaps an agency would end up paying the wages of the individual. The occupations truly vary, from clerical administrative support, etc., to gardeners who grow vegetables for poor people out in the country, and they use them as food stamps versus, use them much like food stamps, versus other types of services. The second component, which was a direct spin-off from the Senior Community Service Project, is what we call our business placement service. That service acts more like an employment agency than either of our other 2 services, in that employers call us up, place what we call a job order, where we get specific information such as job title, hourly wage rate, criteria for selection, qualifications, etc. And we refer from our bank of employees or applicants who are waiting for employment, qualified people to fill those positions. The third component, our newest component, is our Job Training Partnership Act 3% Set-Aside project, which is specifically tailored nationwide as well to train older workers, people age 55 and over, who are lower income. In that program, we do not count Social Security as income, so it takes on a little different meaning. We place those people in businesses where we pay the wages, 50% of the gross wages, for a limited period of time, the training period, as directed in our occupational guide. And then we expect the business to hire them.
There's some very real age prejudice out there, yet people are constantly and in greater numbers seeking the services of the Senior Employment Program. How are you knocking down those barriers?
We're re-educating. We are, through direct mail, through shows such as this, through luncheons, and through one-to-one individual meetings with business people, we are trying to re-educate business people, and the public in general, in fact, because so many general public are involved in business and they are influencers in business, even if they don't own the business, or if they're not a CEO, they can influence the impact on who the hiring is done with and by and with whom and what types of people.
The responses that I got from the people who hired their senior employees are extremely pleased with the work performance. Is that common? Is that usually the case?
Yeah, it's common, and I would like to put the feather in our cap to some extent in terms of the quality of employment counselors we have on staff in my office. I'm fortunate to have qualified people and people who are constantly struggling to become better interviewers to screen out those skills and qualifications needed. Of course, an equal amount of pleasure is given to us by the type of product we're selling, if you will, in terms of the attributes of the older worker. They are excellent performers on the job. They're productive. Their performance rate sometimes exceeds, in fact, younger people's performance rate. Their absenteeism rate is very low, and of course that costs business as well when they miss work. So they're dependable and loyal, and they're honest. They're trustworthy. They certainly are committed to the task. And they don't have outside interest and obligations at that point in their lives. Their dependents have grown up and left home. They are certainly committed to, if they agree and take the responsibility of saying, I will be at the job, in general, that population shows up for work and does their job well.
Is there a typical kind of participant in the program? Is there such a thing as a typical older worker?
I'm often asked that, and often I can't really highlight one in particular. I can give you the average profile of the older woman who comes to us after she's nursed her husband through a cancerous death and depleted all of their income. She feels that probably she has nothing to contribute but is reaching out to try to identify some source of economic support that's not giveaway. This age group doesn't like charity, if you will. They like to work for their dollar. That person would come to us. We would evaluate and assess their skills and aptitudes and try to match them with whether it's a training position, a not-for-profit placement, or a business referral, a position that would match up the skills they've acquired indeed through that nurturing and nursing that they've done with their husband, and the compassion and the administering of medication, or the cooking 3 meals a day when rearing 6 children. The skills go on. I think I mentioned to you earlier that a voc rehab professor one time told me that a displaced homemaker generally has 12,000 skills that she doesn't know about. So that really broadens the scope of things for a person like that. In the male population, we have another group. In general, it may be a male who is 60 and over, who maybe have forced into retirement early, or who may have been encouraged to retire early, which is a little different.
Because older employees sometimes cost more, is that the truth?
That's right, and there's a displacement of cost versus productivity in that case. Our belief is that there are some alternative hiring arrangements that can be made in the case of the older person who is encouraged to retire early. In fact, that company could hire and retain that person on a part-time basis and give them their pension on a part-time basis, and what they would see is the continued loyalty and commitment and productivity, and in fact, in the case of part-time workers, 26% more productive. So we believe that with flex scheduling and job sharing, that companies could benefit in redesigning job tasks and responsibilities.
So a large part of your responsibility is educating the employers about how to utilize the older workers.
Very much so. Very much so.
Have you seen any radical changes in attitude in the business community as a result of your work?
Well, I've worked in the field for 9 years now, and I haven't seen a radical change. I have seen changes that occurred on the West Coast and in the Northeast long before it hit Louisiana, if you will. Now I am seeing a change in attitude and a more bendable attitude in terms of job sharing, which is mutual responsibility for one position, which 2 older workers might assume. Fringe benefits cost less, and the production rate, again, is greater because you have 2 part-time workers.
What have you learned about old age and productivity in your work with the center?
In terms of my own productivity, I've learned that it probably I can't accomplish doing as much as I'd like to accomplish in as short a period of time, and that indeed patience is a virtue that comes with growing older and wiser. And I'm still struggling with that, and it's something that I'm working towards and I'm working on, because there's a lot of work that must be done in the field of age and employment in terms of reshaping attitudes. So I suppose that is the primary feature.
You're seeing big changes in the older workers that come to you for employment. Could you talk a little bit about that?
The caliber has changed over the year. We attribute that to word of mouth, to some of our marketing effort, which has been going on for some months, and to our re-education efforts as well, through the media and so forth. The caliber has changed as a result of the declining economy in Louisiana. When businesses are in tough shape, they are encouraging, and in fact the state of Louisiana is encouraging people who are older to retire with great incentives and so forth. So we have a broader spectrum of people we're dealing with, which is an employer's market is what we're calling it, of course. The problem with that is that inadequate pre-retirement planning is being conducted on behalf of these people who are being encouraged to retire early. And what we know is that probably about 50% of all retirees after 6 months of retirement really want to return to work. So that means to me that inadequate planning and reflection on that process has really been done and conducted by the business or by the individual.
It would probably be good for those of us in our 30s to start looking very carefully at retirement plans.
Very important, and we hear that from financial managers, et cetera. So not only is it an important thing in terms of finances, it's very important in terms of how we choose to spend our leisure time. Some of us know how to do that, and other people are not quite sure what they would do without work as an American.
And that affects their self-esteem and everything else. And
self-esteem is a big problem with this population. I call it triple jeopardy when we have a woman who is over 60 years old, who is poor, and who is black, who comes to us and has no other source of income because she's not old enough for Social Security. At the point that they enter our door in that particular profile, they're in terrible shape. Emotionally depressed, hopeless, a great sense of hopelessness. And it is our job not to tell them what we think they are, but to enable them to discover within themselves what their worth and their value is.
And you are having some successes.
Yes,
and,
we are.
We're all very proud of you. Thank you, Sara, for coming
to
folks and joining us. Well, that's it for our program today. Be sure to tune in next week when we explore the silent suffering of the alcoholic woman. See you then. Bye-bye. For more information about the Senior Employment Program, write Senior Employment Program, Catholic Community Services, Post Office Box 65088, Baton Rouge, Louisiana 70896.